is my deck dinner, March the 29th. I could have chosen, this was given to me, this wonderful salad, and it'd be great if I took this out on a hike with me. I would totally like that, but I have no need to eat something like this at home. I can make something different. Now, I could have eaten this. This is not looking so good now because it's been sitting around a while. James, I brought it home for James because he was supposed to meet me at the Public Professor series, and this has been well, we just started with that one. He'd went for a few, I guess, and then I'd like to go to these things, but I have a hard time being in public around people. It's anyway, so it's free to hear a lecture by these people, and these ones are done for the season. They'll be starting up, I imagine, around that time in the fall, and if you want alcohol, you have to pay for that, but they give you food. And so anyway, I'll talk about that in a minute. So you saw the food. I could have eaten that, but there's some fishy stuff in there, and I really don't want to, and I might have to actually cook it so that I feel safe about that. So what I chose to eat is just a broth with some bok choy. What I put in here, some kidney beans, some like white kidney beans, ginger and peppers pieces, and little sliced up peas. I don't know what. Some Brussels sprouts, sliced Brussels sprouts. And the quinoa sprouts you can see on top. So anyway, that's what I'm going to have because I'm at home. So why would I eat something like that is better off if I'm hiking or something? So we'll see. So that's the vegetable broth, and it takes about as long to make as it would for me to pull that out of the fridge. Really, it doesn't take any time at all. So there we go, set that there, and it's maybe not the fanciest meal in the world. I mean, it's instant, it's healthy, but I'm tired. I've been transplanting seedlings like crazy. So this will be my dessert, this tangerine. I've already scraped the zest off of it to save for something else. And in my hand I have 2 krill pills, B75, and a couple vitamin Ds. So that's my dinner. And I'm so tired. I just can't seem to wake up. Anyhow, if you haven't watched these movies, this one's I think it's the third one that they've done. They did, the first one was just The Trip, I think. I think that's all that one was called. And then they did The Trip to Italy. I think that was the second one. And then, this one. And honestly, this is even funnier than the last two, if anything. These guys could keep doing this forever and ever, and I hope they do, because honestly, you get to see wonderful food, because in the story, I mean, he's doing like restaurant review kind of things while they're traveling, and so it's really like the best travel series. I used to love watching Lonely Planet and pretend I was going all over the world. And so these guys, I got to travel with them while we watched the movie last night, and they even hike in it. So they didn't in the last couple, I don't think. Well, I mean, not real hiking, but this one they did. And what can I say about it? just have to watch it. It's so funny. And we watched this, because we love both of those actors. And James loves watching tennis. So when we first started dating, I had cable, and I only had cable during the summer months because they put it on sale for cheap then. And that's really the only time I needed it, because I'd work and I'd check the weather to make sure, to know how to dress because I work outside, right? And anyway, so James liked to watch sports. He'd come over and watch things like tennis or soccer. Honestly, I don't know when those seasons were. So I'm not a sports person. But I'm sitting, my placemat today is complete hockey instructions, not my book. So so good and so easy. I mean, if the beans are already cooked or whatever, and this is a complete protein meal here, because I have the beans or the peas would do, but I have both, and the quinoa sprouts, right? So I'm getting all the amino acids that I need. Even though you don't need to eat all of your amino acids in one sitting. You could eat them over the course of the day and you'd be just fine. So anyway, that's delish. And I know that tangerine's going to taste good because it smells amazing. And I'm not a fan of orangey things. I way prefer lemons and even limes to oranges. But tangerines are okay. They smell great. But I'd rather just zest them and save the zest for cooking making something, and then James eat the tangerines. Honestly, I'm not a fan of orange things. But anyhow, that's my lunch. I could talk about the gardening endeavors, but you know what? I'm going to do that another day. I'm just too tired. But thank you for joining me for lunch. A little less lonely this way. Yeah, anyway, what happened with I forgot to tell you what happened with the public professor thing. It was so embarrassing. I'll put this lid on here so that I can tell you. It has a chip out of it, but it works out great for putting on my soup bowl now. So it was like it meant to. It's even better now that I broke it in some ways. Anyway, so the food from the public professor, how that happened is I went to the last public professor talk, and it was like a total paleo buffet, and there was like nothing for me to eat. And okay, there was a vegetable platter. Anyway, so I decided this time, because at one point I worked for a city where the head of the union was the head of parks, and it was like, anyway, and he had, we'd go to the union meetings, and he had gotten so frustrated with whatever he wanted, he wanted to be a dictator of the union, right? And but there were enough people there at the union meetings that would vote not according to his wishes, that he stocked the union full of, he got this big flat screen TV and fireplace. It was set up like a lounge, right? Because he'd been going to bars after work with people, and it's like the worst. He would promote people, the people that he went to the bar with. Anyway, so he had set up the Union Hall or whatever, like a lounge, and then all of his friends were showing up at the union meetings, and so then he was getting to vote however he wanted, because his friends would just vote however he wanted. So that worked out really nicely for him. But one day he ordered pizzas for everyone at the union meeting, and he knew very well that I was vegetarian. And at the time I was really being raised vegetarian, it's like having to eat fishy stuff or whatever is really hard for me. So even taking these supplements, it's not something I would have done any time earlier in my life. But since I don't have Blue Cross and I can't have the medication that I need because it would be too expensive, I'm trying to manage things as best I can with nutrition, and so I'm taking the krill supplements right now. Anyway, so at the time I would not have touched anything that had touched meat. So it was like I can't really explain it to somebody who hasn't been raised that way. Like, for me to eat meat is pretty much like somebody asking a meat eater to just pick the Soylent Green off their pizza. You know, it's like Elvis is a person to me. And I was raised with pigs. My dad farmed pigs, mostly grain, but there were livestock on our farm, and there were pigs. And I can't talk about that, but anyway, it's not something that I can handle very well. So anyway, so he got pizzas, and so I went up with my plate, and I noticed all of them had meat on them, and so I just picked a couple slices of pizza anyway, and one of his friends said, "That's my pizza." And my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, he said, "That's her pizza. You know, she's a member of the union too." And but he was really upset that I'd grabbed a couple pieces of his pizza, because they had it all planned out that they were each gonna have, they each chose a pizza and they were each gonna have a pizza, right? And none for Pauline. So, and at the time James was a pescatarian, so he was eating only fish. But anyway, I had a very happy basset hound at home. So that is why I saw the paleo platter at the last little public professors thing, and I said, I'm gonna bring a Tupperware container with me this time, so if I can't eat anything, I'm gonna have a container to put my serving in, and I'm walking home with my fair share. So I had that in my bag, but I didn't need to use it this time. There was a lot of great food, and so I went up and I grabbed, James was going to be coming and he wasn't there yet, and I was like, oh gosh, he's going to miss all this. So I grabbed a plate for me and a plate for him, and he had fallen asleep at home and he didn't show up. So here I am sitting beside a full plate of food, and I'm having a hard time. Like, I can't, it's very hard for me to talk to people in public. Like, I realize people often, they're very social and they want to be nice to me, and it just makes me tense up. So there was a woman, she wanted to sit right beside me, and I was like, oh, my husband's coming. And at the time I thought he was, and even until the thing was half over, I was sure he would show up, but no. And so she sat in the one beside, and then her friends were over here and stuff, and I sat right so that I would be at the edge of the table, because the chairs were in kind of a U, so that I wouldn't have to sit right beside people. But then somebody pulled their chair up right beside me, and I was like, oh, so. But at least I had James's chair that was empty, waiting for him. But they were very nice, and I would have liked to talk to them. Had James shown up, I would have had more strength to do so. But anyway, I'm not good at that sort of thing. So then I had this full plate of food beside me, and I'm like, I can't possibly eat it all. And the woman's like, oh, if your husband doesn't show up, you're gonna have to eat it all. And I'm like, anyway, so I had the Tupperware container, and I just pulled it out, and I flopped the food in there and put it back in my bag. And I was trying not to be like obvious about it, but so embarrassing. And now he hasn't even eaten it. Every day I'm like, you want to eat that sushi now? And he's like, no. Anyway, so that's that. But it was a great meal that they put on. If ever you're interested in learning something, like that's our date night. We've decided that, and I'm not gonna dish out food for him again. And if he doesn't show up, I'm just gonna leave. But because I don't like being around people that much. So it's not a thrill for me that way. I do love learning, and I love food. I love eating. So anyway, but I would highly suggest everyone show up for those, because it's great food and it's great talks. So anyway.